everyone. Welcome back to Sheverse Podcast. I'm your host, Brooke Michelle, and today's guest is Kelly. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, Brooke. Thank you
Thank
for
you so
having me.
thank you so much for being a guest. So, I wanted you to share a little bit about your experience with TBI. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. My story starts with I was driving home from work and I was driving down a rural road, and another driver pulled out in front of me at the last minute, and I ended up T-boning their car. And it was a pretty good wreck. And I thought I would walk away, just shake it off, get back to my life. And I did so. I struggled like for 3 months afterwards, trying to get back to my regular life, and found I was getting worse, and later was diagnosed with a concussion and a traumatic brain injury.
Oh, wow. And what were some of the symptoms that you was having?
Well, initially I had headaches, and they were different. I had been a migraine sufferer before, but these headaches were pretty awful. I had like three different headaches, kind of like a horrible, like clamping kind of pain. I had the migraine headaches that were worse, and then I had what is known as occipital neuralgia, which is it's common after like if you have whiplash. There's a nerve in the back of the head that gets inflamed or damaged, and it goes to the top of the head and it causes horrible, horrible pain, burning type pain. And then, of course, I had the whiplash. I had difficulty with speech and difficulty with short term memory and difficulty with reading and remembering the things I just read. And then, as time passed, other things started popping up
Mhm.
that I hadn't realized because they were kind of covered up by my neck pain. I discovered that I had light sensitivity, sound sensitivity, difficulty with focus and concentration, especially if there was noises or other distractions around me.
Mhm.
And then I had fatigue, unbelievable fatigue, um, where I would sleep 12 to 14 hours at night, get up, and then still take a 2 hour nap during the day.
Wow. Man,
Yeah, big life-changing symptoms.
that's crazy. Did anything ever happen to the other driver? Because they were at fault. So, I mean,
I'm hoping that they were okay, but I don't know. I'm sure they probably had a concussion too.
oh man, man. So you do TBI recovery? Like, so are you a coach now, like a life coach?
I'm no, I'm working towards that. I still practice as a nurse practitioner. So before my brain injury, I was a cardiology nurse practitioner.
Oh,
And then as I was trying to recover, I got fascinated and passionate about the brain and started reading anything and everything I could about the brain. And with the suggestion of a friend, decided to go into neurology, and so started working towards that and sought training and didactic type education, and was able to beg and plead myself into a new role as a neurology nurse practitioner. And I've been doing that for about 7 years.
oh, nice. That's a really great career.
Yeah,
Really
I
great.
love it. Yeah.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about your book that you have, Life After after the Crash. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. After my traumatic brain injury, all I wanted to do was get back to work because I was the main income earner and benefit earner for my family. So it's really important for me to get back to work. And I remember the 2 weeks before I was to start back to work. and being really anxious, not knowing what I was going to need to be successful at work after my brain injury.
Mhm.
And I read everything I could, and really, it was really hard to find things that were applicable to going back to work and being at work while your brain is healing from a brain injury.
Mhm.
And so, with again, encouragement from a friend, they said, you should write a book. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'd love to write a book. But I really wanted my book to really fill that niche
Mhm.
of helping people get back to school and work after their brain injury. And so what it is that it's a compilation of all the tools and strategies and techniques and compensatory tools that I learned from my brain injury providers. And I put it all in a book so that it's really easy. And the book itself is super easy to read. It's you don't have to read front to back. You could go to a specific section. The paragraphs are really short. I get straight to the point with strategies that you can implement independently.
Mhm.
And I also have it on Audible because after my brain injury, I couldn't read for
Mhm.
a long, long time. And then also in retain. And that, I mean, just reading, retaining, there's so much involved with that that is knocked offline after a concussion or a brain injury. So a lot of people do struggle with reading and remembering and learning after a brain injury. So it was important for me for it to ultimately be on Audible so that people who were in that situation could just listen to my book.
Mhm. That's good. That's good. And where can my listeners find your book besides your website and
It
audiobook?
yeah, it's on Audible and iTunes and any of your favorite bookstores, Amazon, any indie. If you have an indie favorite book, it's going to be available there too.
Okay. Okay. And what was your hardest scene to write in this book?
The hardest thing to write in the book.
Yes. Like your
Um,
hardest scene.
the hardest thing for me to write was the first chapter.
Why? Why?
I don't know. I I was just so focused on writing about the strategies and tools and the symptoms of brain injury and which specialists to see to get help with those specific symptoms, that was what I really wanted to get out onto paper first. And so I really just, because of that, I just struggled with how am I going to start this book. I don't want to start it, boring, with a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of statistics. No, people who have brain injuries don't have the brain energy to read about the history of concussions or statistics. They want to read about how to get better, right?
Hmm.
And so that was the hardest part, the first chapter. But I'm really proud of the way that it starts off.
Wow. How many chapters are in this book?
Oh, good question. I have no idea.
Oh.
Let me look.
Did you have to do a lot of
Well,
research for it?
yes, I did because I wanted to back the things up that I said with current with research, um, so that it was not only my book not only had my personal experience, but it also had information that I had run across that's out there that would help somebody recover. And those the research papers, the books, and so forth that I used as references for my book are noted in my book. So not only when you get my book, you can learn about the other great books that I use to get better and heal and write my book.
Okay, okay, I like that. You never
20,
know,
24
like
chapters.
24. You never really know like what someone else is going through. Like I've never experienced a traumatic brain injury. So like the surgery, did you have surgery and did it take long for you didn't have surgery or anything?
No, so there are different types of brain injuries, and they are working on researchers are working on better categories. But currently, what we have in clinical practice is mild, moderate to severe.
Hmm.
And my brain injury was considered mild to moderate.
Hmm.
And usually, if you need surgery after a brain injury, it's because there's a bleed and the blood needs to be um, uh, removed.
Hmm.
But mine was mild. And that was the other thing too. When I was doing research and writing my book, was I found a lot of information on people who had severe head injuries. I saw a lot of information for military personnel and for kids, but very little information about regular Joe Blow like me who got in a car accident or who falls,
Hmm.
um, or is out mountain biking and has a bad bike accident and then trying to go back to work. So even though the terminology mild is used, it really isn't mild. A mild traumatic brain injury actually has the potential to devastate someone's life
Hmm.
because if they aren't helped and cared for, they could end up losing their job,
Hmm.
losing their relationships, and then end up in really bad situations, whether that's homelessness, addicted to drugs and alcohol, trying to treat their symptoms, committing suicide, or ending up incarcerated because of their behavior and their impulsivity of choices.
Hmm.
So whether it's mild or severe, it has a significant impact on that person and then the people around them.
Yeah, people really don't understand what other people's lives, like what they go through. They're just like, oh, they're just addicted to drugs and just automatically like cancel them out. I'm like, but you don't know what they've been through. They could have been through something really traumatic that's the reason why they're addicted, or the reason why they're acting the way they're acting.
Right. Most people don't grow up, most kids don't grow up going, I want to be a drug addict.
Right.
You know, it's usually they're treating something, an underlying issue, whether that is past trauma, physical or mental. It can be that they have untreated mental health issues. They've been bullied. Um, you know, they're tr- they've had a brain injury. Um, they have brain diseases
Hmm.
like epilepsy, seizures. You just, uh, yeah, you just never know. But a lot of those people turn when they're not getting the care from traditional medicine and guidance, they're going to turn to drugs to
Hmm.
help treat their symptoms, whether it's anxiety, depression, difficulty with sleeping. And it really is. It's a sad, vicious cycle.
Hmm. That's true. And my last and final question before I let you go, what advice would you give my listeners who have been through what you've been through with the brain traumatic?
To always seek care and medical advice. If you've had a fall or a blow to the head or anything that suddenly where your body has stopped, started like an acceleration, deceleration situation, that could be in a car, on a motorcycle, on a down the stairs, falling down the stairs. Get your brain evaluated and anybody who is around you, let them know to monitor you
Hmm.
for symptoms or changes in personality that would dictate a visit to your doctor.
Yeah, and it's it. I'm happy, so happy that you said that because some people think, oh, I just slipped and fell and hit my head, and I'll be all right. Like I'll be okay, but they don't really know if they are okay.
Yeah, you don't. And then sometimes when you have a brain injury, you lose your self-awareness of knowing that you are not okay
Yep,
and you do things that you shouldn't be doing.
yep, that's true. That's true. I want to thank you so much, Kelly, for being a guest today and sharing your story with my listeners.
Thank you, Brooke, for having me and allowing me to speak to your listeners.
You have a great day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for listening to my interview with Kelly. If you would like to purchase her book, you can go on her website. It is kellytuttle.org, and you can go on her page that has book, and then here's her book right here. And it's also on audiobook, so definitely check that out. And thank you all so much. I really appreciate that so much support I'm getting from my listeners. I really greatly appreciate it. And continue to listen. Hopefully, I have something new in the works for you all. I'm working on it. Thank you all so much for listening. See you next time for the next interview on Tuesday. Bye.